They say sports is a game of inches, but sometimes it's a game of survival. We've all seen the highlight reels, the touchdowns, the trophies, the glory. But what happens when the cheering stops and the only sound left is the snap of a bone? From the haunting coincidence of Joe Theismann and Alex Smith to the terrifying moment the world stood still for Patrick Mahomes in 2025, some injuries don't just end seasons, they change the game forever. Today, we aren't just looking at the most iconic injuries in sports history, we are looking at the battle scars that should have ended careers, but didn't. Brace yourselves, because these are the 9 most legendary injuries of all time. And number 1 is a miracle you have to see to believe. Let's dive in. In the history of the NFL, lightning isn't supposed to strike twice in the same spot. But on November 18, 2018, the world watched in horror as history repeated itself in the most chilling way possible. Alex Smith, the Washington quarterback, was sacked by Kareem Martin and J.J. Watt. In a split second, his right leg snapped, a spiral compound fracture of his tibia and fibula. The image was stomach-churning, but the coincidence was terrifying. Exactly 35 years to the day, on the same field playing for the same team, legendary Joe Theismann suffered the exact same injury. But for Alex Smith, the broken bone was only the beginning. He developed necrotizing fasciitis, flesh-eating bacteria that nearly cost him his life. He underwent 17 surgeries. Doctors told him he'd be lucky to walk. Yet in 2020, Smith did the impossible. He stepped back onto an NFL field. It wasn't just a comeback, it was a miracle that redefined human resilience. January 2nd, 2023, a Monday night football game between the Bills and Bengals turned into a prayer circle for the entire world. Damar Hamlin made a routine tackle, stood up for a second, and then collapsed like a fallen tree. The diagnosis? Commotio cordis, a freak occurrence where a hit to the chest at the exact millisecond of a heartbeat causes cardiac arrest. For 9 minutes, medics performed CPR on the field as players cried and the world watched in silence. Damar was clinically dead. But the battle scars of this injury were internal. Hamlin didn't just survive, he returned to play in the NFL. His story reminds us that in sports, the line between a game and a tragedy is thinner than we think. The year 2025 will be remembered as the year the golden boy of the NFL finally met his match. Not a defender, but his own body. In a late-season clash against the Chargers, Mahomes tried to extend a play, a move we've seen him make 1,000 times. But this time, his left leg twisted awkwardly under the weight of a defender. The MRI confirmed every Chiefs fan's nightmare, a torn ACL. For the first time in 8 years, Mahomes was out. The image of him limping to the locker room marked the end of an era of invincibility. As we sit here in 2026, Mahomes is on the grueling road to recovery. This isn't just an injury, it's a test of whether the greatest QB of our generation can reclaim his throne after a career-altering blow. If you have a weak stomach, look away. March 31st, 2013, Louisville versus Duke. Kevin Ware jumped to contest a three-pointer, but when he landed, his right leg didn't just break, it exploded. 6 inches of bone protruded through the skin. The stadium went silent. Teammates collapsed on the floor in tears. It remains the most graphic injury in the history of live televised sports. Yet, as he was being carried off, Ware kept shouting to his team, "Just win the game." They did, and miraculously, a year later, Ware was back on the court. It was a testament to the fact that even when the body breaks in the most public way possible, the spirit can remain intact. Let's move to the ice for what is arguably the most terrifying accident in sports history. March 22, 1989. Buffalo Sabres goalie Clint Malarchuk was involved in a collision at the net. A skate blade sliced his jugular vein. Blood began to pour onto the ice in a scene straight out of a horror movie. 11 fans fainted, 2 had heart attacks, and 3 players vomited on the ice. Malarchuk survived only because the team trainer was a former combat medic who reached inside Clint's neck to pinch the vein shut. He was back on the ice just 11 days later, but the mental scars, the PTSD, lasted for decades. This is the definition of a battle scar that the world will never forget. As we look at the current 2025-2026 season, a new tragedy has struck. Malik Nabers, the sensational Giants receiver who was on pace to break every rookie record, went down with a non-contact ACL tear. This injury sparked a massive debate across the league about turf versus grass. Nabers was the heartbeat of the Giants' offense, and seeing him go down in his prime is a reminder that no matter how much technology we have in 2026, the human knee is still the most fragile part of the game. Nabers' journey back to the field will be the biggest storyline of the 2026 offseason. August 1st, 2014, a meaningless scrimmage for Team USA turned into a career-defining moment for Paul George. As he chased down a transition layup, his foot hit the base of the basket stanchion. The resulting compound fracture of his tibia and fibula was so loud it could be heard in the back of the arena. Paul George didn't just break his leg, he broke the momentum of his career. But what makes this iconic is the comeback. Paul George didn't just return, he became an MVP candidate and a perennial all-star. He showed the world that a snap doesn't mean the end. Perhaps the most gruesome knee injury ever caught on tape belongs to Shaun Livingston. In 2007, his knee didn't just pop, it disintegrated. He tore his ACL, PCL, MCL, and both menisci. Doctors actually discussed amputating his leg because of potential nerve and artery damage. It took years of rehab. He had to relearn how to walk, then run, then jump. But 10 years later, Livingston wasn't just playing. He was a key piece of the Golden State Warriors dynasty, winning 3 NBA championships. It is the ultimate story of a player who lost everything and fought his way back to the top. From the bloody ice of Buffalo to the modern-day ACL tragedies of 2026, these injuries remind us that athletes aren't just entertainers, they are modern-day gladiators. They risk their bodies, their careers, and sometimes their lives for the game we love. Every scar tells a story. Every comeback is a victory over fate. So the next time you see a player go down, remember, it's not just about the injury, it's about the heart that refuses to quit. Which of these injuries do you think was the hardest to watch? And who do you think will have the greatest comeback in 2026? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of sports. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.